So YouTube means video, and at least commonly perceived, video means, creating a lot of video means spending a lot of time. So the question then becomes, is being on YouTube worth your time? We're going to talk about that along with some tips for getting the most out of YouTube so that you can get the most out of your time. Here we go. Welcome to the Advisor's Digital Toolbox, where we talk about the latest tips, tech, and tools to help you better engage your clients and build your business online. I am Horse's Mouth's Doug Pierce, and I am joined by Devin Kropp. Hi, Devin.
Hello.
So let's get right into it. The first thing I wanted to do is just kind of give some facts to establish why YouTube is kind of a big deal. So YouTube has 2 billion monthly users. I think it's second only to Facebook in terms of the amount of users, and it's not lagging that far behind. 73% of US adults use YouTube. Okay. 58% of internet users who are 56 or over use YouTube. And of course, that percentage increases exponentially as you get younger, but I think there is a common perception that, YouTube's only for like young people who can't afford both cable and the internet or something. So they just watch cat videos instead of buying cable, right? I think that kind of is an older perception, but still it's there. And then powerfully, I think 70% of what people watch on YouTube is actually determined by YouTube's recommendation engine. And I think, we'll get to this in a little bit. I do also want to share that YouTube is the world's second most popular search engine, right? Right behind Google, which of course owns YouTube. So you do get a lot of cross benefit when you post a lot of video on YouTube. You do get a lot of benefit when you're showing up in Google search, under video and everything like that. So it is kind of a big deal. And when we're talking about YouTube, we are talking about video, and video, as we've talked about many times on this show, is really second to none in terms of getting people to trust you and to like you and to know you, right? The old classic know, like, and trust. Video does that really well. And unlike meeting with people in person and interacting with people in person, which is, the best way to get people to know, like, and trust you, video is scalable, right? So you can only be in one place at one time. Maybe you can't be any place but home right now, depending on where you live. But the fact of the matter is video is scalable, and that is very powerful. So I do want to talk about kind of YouTube's superpower. I mentioned YouTube's recommendation engine. And when we're talking about YouTube, really one of the biggest things I think is that discoverability. Because the fact is that when you make a post on other social media platforms, like Facebook, the shelf life of what you post is pretty short, right? Wouldn't you agree with that, Devin? I mean, it's pretty...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Unless you, of course, pay to have Facebook keep putting it in front of people. But with YouTube, if you put out a video and YouTube learns who this video is for and who it should serve it to, and that it's a good video, it's going to put that in front of people, whether it's on the YouTube homepage or it's from somebody searching about something. It's going to put that in front of people, and it's going to keep putting even older, like years old videos. It's going to keep putting that in front of people, which is huge. It's huge, and you just don't see that when it comes to a lot of social media platforms. And then I did want to talk a little bit about, maybe we should see if there's any questions real quick. No questions before. I did want to ask the audience what you feel about YouTube. When somebody says, you should be on YouTube, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? Are you like, I don't know, or yeah, but I don't want to spend the time? I'd love to know.
Yeah.
I'd love to get our audience's thoughts on that. Because Devin, what do you feel like the perception is?
I think it depends on who you ask, but I do think that there is this idea that like influencers are on YouTube, and you
Uh-huh.
have to be like this millennial influencer to be on YouTube and to have a channel. And that's absolutely not true. I think honestly, the person in my life I know who uses YouTube the most is my father-in-law, who is in his 60s, and
Mm-hmm.
he like watches shows on it, and he if he needs to do something around the house, isn't sure how to do it, he like DIY, YouTube search how to fix this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to what you were saying, Doug, about how it's really the only social media channel that is also a search engine.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can
Mm-hmm.
search on Facebook and Twitter, but you're not going to get the quality results like you're going to get on YouTube. And that goes back to the whole shelf life thing, where when you're on YouTube, you're not necessarily looking for the newest content. You're looking for the content that you need at that moment. Whereas Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you're just kind of looking at what's new in people's lives. YouTube, you can really focus down into exactly what you are looking for at that moment in time. So I think that's a really cool feature of YouTube.
I'm so glad you mentioned. That's actually where I was going to go before I had a total
Oh,
mental lapse and reached out to and reached out to chat. Yeah. When people go to YouTube, they're not. When people are on Facebook or other social media platforms, maybe they want to see what meme their crazy uncle
right.
posted, or just what's up with their family and friends. But when they go to YouTube, yes, they might want to be entertained. That's definitely one of the reasons why people go to YouTube, but they also want to be informed. They want to learn about something. So when you look about the user intent, that's very powerful. If you have content that is serving that need, you've got their attention, and that of course is everything, right? That's really important. Let's see here. We do have some questions that have come through here. So let me go ahead and get those out here. Here we go. So Walter is saying the longevity of YouTube is helpful. If you promote your videos, you can't just wait for the search traffic. You also have to commit to creating content regularly. Yeah, that's true. I mean, one of the advisors that we've talked to for What's Working Now is Josh Scanlon, and he's got quite a lot of followers on YouTube, but he's like above the norm in terms of his posts, but he posts a lot. You don't have to, I think like once a week. If you can create a video, it doesn't have to be long, right? It doesn't have to be like this half an hour video. In fact, it shouldn't be that long really, for most cases. But if you just create like a 3 to 5 minute video once a week, that's really all you need to like keep YouTube's algorithm happy, I believe. And Walter, now when you say if you promote your videos, here's the thing. From what I've read and seen, if you are good about teaching, and we'll get a little bit into this when we talk about tips, but if you are good at teaching YouTube what content you're serving up and that it's good content, YouTube will put it in front of people. It will do that. And I think it's unique in that way. You don't have to do YouTube advertising to get eyeballs on your stuff. I don't believe that's true at all. So let me go ahead, and we've got some more questions that have come in here. Oh, it already changed over. Peter, your pictures aren't coming up. What's going on with that? Maybe after this, I'll try to fix that. Hi, Peter. So Peter's asking, Doug and Devin, I use Vimeo for my presentations and videos. It seems like I should be using YouTube instead. Your thoughts? That's a great question, Peter. Vimeo is actually I want to say the best, but it's a really good solution when you're talking about hosting videos on your website, because Vimeo lets you customize that player in many ways to match, the branding of your website. You can, take off extraneous elements you don't want on the player, and it really lets you lock down. You can hide it from Vimeo, so that nobody can search and find it. Now YouTube has that too. You can set things for unlisted and private, but with YouTube, you're never going to get away from like the recommended videos at the end of watching a YouTube video. Like you can't get rid of those. So if you're going to be having like a static video that's just on your website, Vimeo is a great solution for that. But in terms of getting more people to find and watch your videos, YouTube is superior to Vimeo So let's see. Let's move on then. Walter says that embedded videos, look much better than YouTube's embeds. Yes, exactly, Walter. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm going to go ahead and not use my shortcuts and do this manually here because I don't trust them today. Valerie is asking, trying to decide whether to set up a YouTube channel or a podcast. Do you recommend YouTube over a podcast? Why or why not? Okay, that's
a loaded question.
That's a loaded question. Okay, well, the first comment I would make is, you could do both, where you make the video for YouTube first, and then okay, I say that, but yeah, I think like a podcast is obviously much longer, and it is different by its nature. It's a little more rambling, right? A little more off the cuff. I would say go with your strengths. What are you most excited about? Definitely podcasting is easier to get up and running with, right? Because you don't have to worry about video. It's just, do you sound good? Do you have a good mic? And you can do it, easily solo or with a guest. I think podcasting is easier to get up and running with. There's less assets you have to put in place, like channel art, I think is like one of the only things really in terms of like graphical assets you have to have. So podcasting is great to get up and running with, but I mean, in terms of, the video, though, is very powerful. Having people be able to see you in addition to hear you, I mean, that is just a powerful thing. So do you have any thoughts about that, Devin?
So the question was about if I'm going to choose one or the other, podcasting or video, what should I do? And I think Doug made the really good point of there are, pros and cons of each. Podcasting can be easier to get up and running with. And to counter that, I definitely agree with that. But I do think that there is a power to video because people are seeing you. That makes it a little bit warmer. And then also from a search engine optimization standpoint, Google and all search engines really love video. So if you are, regularly putting videos on YouTube or embedding them on your website, it's only going to help you get found when people search for, financial advisors in your area. That is a power that podcasting doesn't quite have at this point, where you can really differentiate yourself on the internet and boost your SEO with well-made videos. And, with that being said, podcasting definitely has its own power too. I think if you're in a really specific niche and you can create a podcast that really differentiates itself from other financial podcasts out there, you can have a huge impact. But there is something to be said for people seeing you and seeing you talk rather than just hearing your voice sometimes.
Okay. So when we talk about getting a good return on your investment with YouTube, I think you've got to be, you got to think about the strategy in order to, really get the most out of what you post there. And so I just want to share some best practices for YouTube to help your content, your videos get found, and then, to convert people to whatever your lead magnet is or what have you. So the first tip is to niche down. You want to focus on your niche when you're educating people with your videos on YouTube. And the reason why you want to do this is because it will more quickly teach YouTube's algorithm that what you are educating people about, and it will more quickly have YouTube serve those videos to people who are, searching about the topic. If your niche is social security and you have a bunch of videos about the various aspects of claiming social security and strategy around, maximizing social security benefits, YouTube's going to learn that from the tags that you put in the videos and also the content itself. And it is going to put that in front of people who are looking for social security guidance, right? So you really want to focus down on a niche. When get going with YouTube, if you want to get fast results. Now, the kind of counterpoint to that is that, or an alternative strategy is to start when you're posting videos to be a little more general. And then when you find videos that are getting traction, it's getting the views and the interaction, then you double down on those types of videos. But I think, as an advisor who you probably already have a niche, it just makes sense to, niche down on your YouTube content as well to get those results. And then my second tip would be not to stress out about the gear, because I think a lot of people, whether it's YouTube or just creating video in general, and we've talked about this, they're like, oh man, like I've got to have like this great camera with this like, shotgun microphone, and I got to be in a studio, and none of that's true. All you need is, I usually hold up my cell phone here, but it's not within reach. All you need to get going creating video is your cell phone. You can literally, I don't know if I'd hold the cell phone up, but I might get a tripod or at least rest the phone against something like a book or something. But that's all you need to start creating video. And there are some things you can easily do to upgrade your production, like get an external microphone for that phone. But all you need is your camera or your webcam, right? The same setup you use for doing your webinars and your meetings, you can use to get going with video. And look, I think people think they're competing with all these like pro level video that is on YouTube, that a lot of big brands have on YouTube. But the fact of the matter is you're not competing on production quality and visuals. You're competing on the message. You're competing on content and the education that you're giving people. So I would keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip because I think YouTube has made video so much more accessible for people, where like in the past we would think about, oh, like my video needs to be as good as something that I see on TV. And that is not the case anymore, because YouTube's whole idea is like get as many people making videos as they can. And I think sometimes we all kind of focus too much on making sure that it looks good and we have the highest like rated tech. But if your content is good, if you are answering someone's pain point, they really don't care about that. They want the answer to their question. They want that information. I mean, I have watched YouTube videos that are not, great quality from a production standpoint, but it's the information that I needed at that moment. And I watched it because I was just trying to get that information. So I think that's so important, is to not focus on, making it this slick produced thing. If your content is good and your audio is good, you can get started right away. You don't need to start off with all the hot gear,
Yeah. And it's something you can do over time, right? You can add to your production over time. So, okay. One thing I will say about the gear, if you do want to get a good camera, the Sony ZV-1 is a great camera to get if you want to upgrade your production quality, but you want to make it as easy as possible. That's what I would recommend. Now, when it talks about saving time in video production, batch. You want to batch as much as possible when we're talking about being as efficient as possible. Batch the topic creation process, set a morning aside to just come up with ideas and, script them out, what you're going to say. And then also batch the production of the video so that you're recording multiple videos at the same time. Because a big part of the process is just getting set up, getting ready to go. So if you can just do that for multiple videos at one time, it's going to be way faster overall than going through that setup and dismantling process multiple times. It's just a good idea. And you can also, when you batch your videos, you can send all your videos out to your, compliance to get them approved, or, get them transcribed and send them off to compliance all at once to get them approved. So it just makes a lot of sense to batch your videos. Okay. So we got some people finding their way over to us now. Thanks for your persistence, folks. So the next tip for getting started on YouTube, or taking your YouTube efforts to the next level, is that you do want to make education the focus, and I think you don't want to be afraid of giving away the good stuff. I think that is kind of a common thing where you want to hold back the really juicy bits of information for the meeting, right? But I think that's a mistake, because it's those great tips that are going to get people to pay attention and to value the information and to watch more of your videos, and then to take action and, sign up to attend your webinar or whatever your lead magnet is, or to call for that one-on-one consult, right? So you've got to give the goods first. And the way it works on YouTube, as it does really on anything online, is, first you build the influence with people by giving education and helping. Then comes the business, right? As people come to, value what you've done for them and really see you as an expert, that's when they're going to buy, or they're going to want to work with you, and they're going to want to hear more from you. Definitely.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I want to add to that, because I mean, let's just be frank, like the internet has all the information on it. If someone really wants to find an answer to their question on Social Security, even if you don't tell them the answer in your video, they're going to find it somewhere. Everything is out there on the internet. I think being the person to give that information adds credibility to you. And just because you're telling them, like, the rules of Social Security, doesn't mean that they're not going to take that next step with you, because you still have your expertise to offer. Just because you're giving information doesn't mean they're going to be able to take that and do it on their own. Some will, of course, but the information is out there on the internet. Explaining it in your video is not giving something away that they can't find elsewhere. So positioning yourself as an expert by sharing that information can only help your credibility in trying to, impress new prospects.
Yeah. And again, as we said earlier, when people come to YouTube, they are searching for answers a lot of the time. So when you're educating, you're providing those answers, you're fulfilling what people want, and that's just going to lead to more success for you on the platform overall. So the next tip for getting better results faster out of YouTube is to structure your videos. There definitely is a science to YouTube videos, and the way it goes is, the rough framework is, you want the hook, you want the content, and then you want the call to action. So with the hook, you're basically just telling people what they're going to learn in the video, and maybe you're identifying with the problem that brought them to the video. Like, getting back to the Social Security claiming situation, like, are you confused about when you should claim Social Security? There's a lot of strategies out there, and it's always tempting to just claim as soon as you can. Well, in this video, we're going to do 3 steps to evaluate when you should claim your Social Security benefits. And then you get into the content where you talk about those 3 steps or whatever. And then you get to the call to action, which might be, check out this other video where I talk about some other related topic that you'd naturally be interested in since you watched this video. Or, sign up for my webinar where I go into this in detail, or get my white paper that treats this in detail. You always want to be moving on, and you want to avoid any language that makes people think that the end is coming. And that does it for it. People will immediately stop watching the video at that point, right? It's onto something else. So just avoid the video is ending language at all, and just immediately from your last point transition into watch this video for more about this. And I think when you're first getting started on YouTube, you need to kind of balance driving people to other videos on other of your videos on YouTube, and driving people to something external for you on your website, or like a webinar or something like that, because YouTube, like all these networks, wants people to spend more time on their platform. And if you do that, it's going to reward you by sending more people your way. So maybe every 4 videos you point to this in the CTA of your video, you're pointing people to other more YouTube videos, and then every 5th video or whatever, you're pointing people to an external resource to get them to enter your funnel or what have you. But hook content, call to action. And with the hook is the most important thing that I think people fall down on, because the natural inclination is to say, hi, I'm Doug Pierce at Pierce Financial. I've been in the industry for, I have this many certifications, or just to be like la-di-da, thanks for watching this video. No, trust me, you can do that later, but the very first thing you must do is confirm people's reason for clicking on your video in the first place and say, this is what you're gonna learn. This is the value you are gonna get. Take that tip. That's an important tip. Then after you've done that, you can, introduce yourself and your firm, of course, but don't dilly-dally with the niceties. You got to get right into the value people are going to get watching your content. So then, besides that, I got to talk a little bit about thumbnails. So if you don't know what I mean by the video thumbnail, that is essentially the cover image for your video. So when somebody searches for videos and they see your video among all the others on YouTube, it's that image that they see. And this is an afterthought for a lot of people, where you've created the video and you're like, phew, I'm done. Let's get this out. I want people to see this now. That's the natural inclination. Perfectly, it's perfectly normal. But the fact of the matter is that your thumbnail is the first thing that people, the potential viewers, are going to see. And so it actually needs arguably even more TLC than your video does. It's that important. We all, sorry mom, but we all judge books by their covers, okay? It's just what we do, and that's definitely true with video. The thumbnail is everything in terms of getting people. It's not everything, but it's a prime element to get people to watch your video versus your competitors' videos, or that cat video that looks really cool. You know what I mean? So pay attention to the thumbnail, and just a few quick tips. Don't use a lot of text. A lot of people, and I used to do this too. You can look back and look at the old thumbnails that I've done for these Facebook Lives even. And I'll have like the title of the stream in the thumbnail. And it's just, first of all, people only see thumbnails at really, really small. The only person that sees the thumbnail at the full resolution that's created in is the creator. Most people, you look at the thumbnail, it's really small. So text, people can't really read it, and it gets in the way of the visuals, which is really where you want the attention gets grabbed, are the visuals. And a few quick tips is you want to have like your face like close up, like my level of close to you, like right now, having a kind of an emotional like reaction. That's kind of one of the best practices, is like, or like pointing at something, yeah, or thinking, extreme emotion. But you only want 1 to 2 faces tops, or you want a hero image where it's an image of whatever the subject of the video, but it's just like one element. It's just like one element that's popping and is the primary focus of the thumbnail. Getting into the weeds here, but the thumbnail is vitally important, along with your title, the topic, and then the thumbnail. Those are the 3 important things for getting your videos clicked on.
That's a good point, Doug. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes when I go on YouTube, a lot of the video thumbnails are just, someone sitting at their desk, and that doesn't make me necessarily want to click on it. And then, I see the alternative where people put the title in the thumbnail, and I'm like, well, the title's right next to it. I don't need to see the title twice. And there's so much competition now on YouTube that in order to stand out, you really do need, a well thought out thumbnail. So, and I think that you're right, that it's an afterthought most of the time. And bringing it to the forefront and really being strategic about it can put you ahead, in your competition against other advisors who might be posting videos as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a case to be made that you should actually start with the title and the thumbnail, and then work from there to create your video script, and not the other way around, which is more common, where you script it out and then you come up with the title and thumbnail.
Yeah.
The thumbnail, and title are that important. So yeah, don't let it be an afterthought is just what I'm saying, because that's really tempting. It's really tempting to be done with it and to get people to see it. But way more people are going to see it if you put some TLC into that thumbnail. So please do it. Okay, now the next tip for YouTube, and this is another one of those video overall tips, is to be you. Right? You want to be unguarded, showing your personality, talking to people the way you really talk, and not try to be all stiff and professional like, because that's boring, and people don't want to watch stiff people. They want to watch people, actual people who are talking to them like they would at having a coffee or whatever. So that definitely applies to YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday internally, and then even before we got on this, the thought that people, and I was this way too, of like wanting to read from a script and wanting that to be the video. And at first, it's really, really uncomfortable to just talk without a script. Like it is so uncomfortable. But the more you do it, number one, you're going to see your delivery is so much more engaging. People are going to connect with it more. And two, you get over that uncomfortableness. Like you embrace it, and it just becomes second nature to like be okay with looking into a camera and just talking. And so, if you're starting out and you want to have some maybe bullet point notes so you don't forget where you want to go, that's okay. But I really would say don't script your entire video. Just let some of it be organic. That's how, like Doug said, you want people to see the real side of you, and a script is not really going to do that. Let yourself talk and kind of just go with the flow of what you're thinking. Of course, you want to stay on point as much as possible, but it will enhance your delivery more than you think it will.
Yeah, and remember with recording a video, you get as many takes as you want. I mean, don't use that as a security blanket and shoot way too much footage that you're going to have to like edit for like hours afterwards. But just know that you can, well, okay, Walter. So Walter is saying, or invest in a teleprompter. I think teleprompters can work, but I do think there is a skill to using a teleprompter in a way where it comes off like impromptu speech. And I think you've got to have that skill, Walter, in order to really be able to pull that off. I think I think a lot of people use a teleprompter, and the minute somebody senses you're using a teleprompter, it just, you just kind of lose them a little bit, I think. A teleprompter is a script. I have one. Okay, that says Rob. Okay, so we got some teleprompter lovers in here. But
yeah,
maybe
I mean, I shouldn't say never do it. Like Doug said, if you can really make it, sell it, like you're not doing it. But I would say, I would encourage you to do one take with the teleprompter and then one take without, and just compare your delivery. Because I think you'll find that there's a difference. And, unless you're a teleprompter pro and you're really good at reading it and sharing your emotion doing it, which is very difficult. So kudos to you if you are. But I would say do two different takes and just try to see if there's a difference, and maybe, compare those two things.
Yeah, and just give it a try. Try just coming up with some bullet points you want to talk about and going from there. Remember, you can just keep rolling. Don't stop the recording. Just if you flub or whatever, you say you quote the wrong statistic, just start again and just keep rolling. That's the beauty of pre-recorded video. Unlike live video, where if you fat finger a button that stops the stream, you got to kind of deal with that and keep going. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, be you, and try to keep it as impromptu, high energy as possible. That's another thing. You do have to bring a lot of energy to video, for sure. So Andy, hi Andy. So what do you recommend for editing videos on a PC? So on a PC, Adobe Premiere Pro is what I use. It is the professional tool. So there is a little bit, if you're not used to video editing, there is a little bit of like a factor when you first open it up, but you can learn it, the basic functionality of it pretty quickly. But there are also some, well, first of all, if you're shooting videos on your phone, you can just use like iMovie or whatever to do basic edits where you're just trimming things in there. But there's also online video editors like in Video and Promo, I think it's called, where you can just upload your footage there and you can kind of edit it online. But still, the basic functionality of a video editor is going to be the same, where you've got, you know, the playhead and you're cutting off sections and you're moving things around. So Adobe Premiere, I recommend, if you're going to be doing a lot of video, just go ahead and learn Adobe Premiere, at least the basic functionality, because it's going to be well worth your time. Or have somebody on your staff learn it or whatever. Now, somebody, before I lost the comments for the old stream, did ask about video editing. And I will say about outsourcing video editing. Video editing can definitely be time intensive. It can be the most time intensive part of the process. There are freelance outfits like VidChops, where for like a monthly fee, you can send them, you know, so many hours of footage and they will edit the videos for you. Okay, Ellen. Hi, Ellen's here. Hi, Ellen. I use Camtasia for editing in a PC. Yeah, you can use Camtasia as well. And Camtasia is kind of a good one for giving you the functions, the ease of use of the functions you want to do easily. So there you go. But yeah, if you're going to outsource something, editing would probably be the place to do that. For sure. Okay, so a lot of comments on that one. Yeah, Walter, hashtag whoops. Let's trend the stream, hashtag whoops. Yeah, exactly. But I will say that is I've heard, at least that's one of the things that endears people about live video is the mistakes, right? You're seeing our personality come to the forefront. We did you guys a favor by having you hop over and find the new stream.
Yeah, it was an experiment. We did it on purpose.
Yeah. We want to make you guys feel better about starting your own streaming efforts, right? You can mess up just like us, or just like me, I should say. Okay, so the next tip here is don't obsess over keywords and SEO. So keywords and SEO are very powerful on YouTube, right? As we know, Google owns YouTube and they play very well together. And putting tags into your video's description and title and in the tags section of the video settings are going to help YouTube serve up your videos to people who are searching for those tags. But the thing you have to realize about YouTube specifically is that they have an incredible AI that knows what's in your video without you having to tell them. Okay, you can Google like YouTube video AI or Google AI, video AI, and you'll see some pretty crazy stuff where from the minute your video starts processing in YouTube's back end, they are determining with pretty high success rate what, like, the mood of your video, what you're talking about. They have automatic captions in their videos, so they know what you're saying. That you don't have to post the transcript in your description for YouTube to know exactly what you're saying in your video. So the point is that keywords and SEO are very important, but I think when it comes down to it, and when you are working your title and your description, I think you should err on the side of optimizing it for a human being to want to click on it, right? I think if it comes down to it, you want to make it more appealing to the human deciding whether to click and not the machine deciding who to serve it up to, because YouTube is getting better. They already know what you're saying in your video and they're getting better and better at it. So I don't think it's as important as it once was to, definitely don't keyword stuff in your title and description. You don't want to go overboard there. I think you got to have the user and the viewer experience principally in mind.
I was going to say, do not stuff keywords, because Google actually will punish you for doing that if they figure out that you're just like throwing in keywords there that are not really pertinent to your video or anything on the internet. They know that, but definitely, like, if your video is about social security, make sure that the word social security is in there somewhere. You don't want to just ignore it, but definitely, YouTube knows what your video is about, and they will back end put it in front of people that are looking for it.
And Walter says, hashtag, you guys are still awesome. Thank you, Walter. I put the control surface down. Okay, it's over there. It's over there. So yeah, I'm gonna do everything manually from this point on. So Nancy's got a great question. Any ideas on how to measure video impact in terms of contacting me and subsequently becoming a client? Well, first of all, Nancy, as I think you probably know, YouTube has got amazing analytics. That's actually one of the really great things about YouTube, is that it tells you a lot of things about how people are engaging with your videos. And I think the best time is retention, is how long people are watching your videos. I think that's kind of like the golden metric to watch. And YouTube will show you. They'll have a line that you can follow to see where your attention drops off, and how steady. Of course, it naturally goes down, and your normal video, there's going to be a drop at the beginning. That's kind of naturally what happens. But you can see exactly where people kind of disengage with your video, and that really does give you tips for where you need to. You can go back in and like see, so this is what I did at that point. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should do something else. But I think in terms of, engaging with your prospects, watch time, retention, I think is key. And it also is the thing that YouTube cares most about. Technically, they care more about session time. So that's the amount of time people spend on YouTube. But, each individual video's watch time is like the number 2 thing that they care about. So, yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of YouTube videos that are like 10 minutes in length, because that's kind of like a golden length where if somebody watches a YouTube video for 10 minutes, that tells YouTube, that to serve up more of their videos because they're keeping people on YouTube. Not saying you should do that, go for that length, but I think a YouTube video should be as long as it needs to be and not any longer. For sure. So, okay. That was from Don't Obsess Over Keywords and SEO. The other point, this isn't really a tip so much as it is a fact, which is that YouTube makes a great starting point for your video content, because the preferred format of YouTube is, full HD, 1920 by 1080. And of course it does support 4K, but generally most people are going to do 1920 by 1080. And that's, if you're going to be repurposing that video, that's pretty much as big as it's going to get. So making YouTube your first stop for the video, then taking maybe like a shorter chunk of it and formatting that into a square with a headline and the burnt-in captions that you share on Facebook or LinkedIn. You can now do that because you first made the video for YouTube. I think it gives you more mileage to your content starting on YouTube. That's kind of what I have to say about that. But let's see here if there's any other questions you guys have. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. That's the example of language you don't want to use, by the way, in your YouTube video, to let people know the end is coming. But I don't see any more questions. So I just want to thank you guys for staying with us today, despite the little hiccup we had with the stream ending. And I hope you guys got value. And I will put together a video replay, kind of putting the two bits of the streams together so you guys can have one cohesive video to go back and watch. Valerie just asked, recommendations for an external microphone. I purchased Blue Yeti and I cannot get it to work. So Blue Yeti is actually one of the common ones that that people like and that seems to work well. And why it would not work is, I mean, just make sure that all of the knobs are, the gain is turned up, that it's correctly plugged into the computer. I would try the basic things because, it should work. It doesn't, as long as it's plugged in USB into your computer, it should work. But other, if you are looking for another microphone, what Devin's using is a great one. It's the Samson Q2U, which is but it's another USB microphone. But it's a really good one, especially for podcasting. It's a great one. And then Ellen's saying Doug helped me with the Yeti. Look in YouTube for instructions. Yeah, exactly. One of the powers of YouTube is that you can see exactly. I will say that with the Yeti and a lot of these USB microphones, make sure you're talking into the right part of the microphone, because like the Yeti is a front address microphone. That means you got to talk into the front of it, not the top. Devin, like look at Devin. Devin's talking into the top of that microphone because that's a top address. See, that's a top address. The Yeti and a lot of USB microphones are not. They're front address. So just make sure that you are talking, read the manual and make sure that you're talking into the right part of the microphone. Because if you don't, these microphones have very direct pickup patterns. And if you're talking into the top when you're supposed to be talking into the front, you are not going to sound good. You're going to sound very faint, like you're in the next room. So make sure you're correctly addressing the microphone. And okay, now Nancy says Camtasia is great. Yeah, Camtasia, Camtasia is great for doing like screen share stuff on a PC, where you want to, share, your slides or your screen while having your video up there. It is a great program for that, and it makes doing it really easy. So, Camtasia is great. Valerie, that is the Samson, not Samsung. Apologies if I said that wrong. The Samson Q2, the number 2U. Samson Q2U.
Yeah, and it's really easy to use. It's literally you plug it in and you turn it on. There's no other real buttons or anything. So yeah. I would recommend it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that too is it's USB, which makes it easy to use get up and running with your computer. But it's also got an XLR connection, so if down the road you do want to use an audio interface or an audio recorder for like podcast recording or whatever, you have that option to connect it via XLR. So it makes it really versatile and really gives it legs to serve you down the road. But okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much for the questions. And okay, yeah, Andy says, yeah, I had problems with my Yeti too. It was too faint. I searched YouTube and found how to fix it. Okay. So there you go.
YouTube's great.
YouTube's great. Okay, that pretty much wraps up today's stream. So I want to thank you guys again for bearing with us despite the tech difficulties we had today. I do hope you had value. And until next week, have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.